Hello, listeners, and welcome back to another episode of Small Bite. I am your host, Alma Ayala, and today we will be talking about the relationship between culture and eating habits with our special guest, Sylvia Klinger. This episode is written, produced, and edited by Eat Right, Feel Right, LLC. Hi, Sylvia, how are you doing?
Hi, Alma. Very good. Thank you. It was such a pleasure to be here with your audience today. I'm just delighted. I have been, a dietitian for over 30 years. So this is a wonderful opportunity to share with others, all my experience, especially with the Latino population. And yeah, so I graduated with a BS in nutrition. And then I went on to have my master here in Chicago, Illinois, where I live now. And then in 2016, I took this crazy leap of faith to go into my doctorate degree. And so I have been practicing nutrition and really very passionate about it because there is nothing I love more about sharing my knowledge, my experience with others, and empowering not only the consumers and the people that I encounter every day, but I love also to empower other dietitians to kind of follow suit into this field that is so rewarding for us.
Yes, and you also take interns, right? You've been one
I
of my mentoring
do, yes,
members.
yes. In fact, I have a couple starting on Monday, so I'm really excited. I have a long list of things for them to do.
That is wonderful. Well, on today's episode, we're going to talk about the relationship between culture and eating habits. And since that is your field of expertise, let's go ahead and start our interview. So, for our first question, how does cultural heritage influence our food choices and eating habits?
When I think about our cultural heritage, I think about, all the things that we grew up with. I mean, for me, I'm from Puerto Rico, but I actually, when I was 7 years old, my father went on to work in Mexico City. So then, I feel like I have a little bit of both. But when I think about, my culture and that blend of two cultures that are very big and different from each other, I remember, cooking with not only my grandma, but also with all the ladies making tortillas, with the ladies in Mexico making salsas and all kinds of foods. And with my grandma was, she liked to bake. So we make, really wonderful things in the kitchen together. So I think about those moments and then I reflect back and it seemed very comforting when I think about my heritage and the foods and how it shaped me because it shaped me to cook more at home. It shaped me to kind of like pass it on to the others, this legacy to my children, to friends that are around that come into place and to really install that love for the kitchen because I think a lot of things happen in the kitchen. And for us, I feel like it's a glue. It glues us together. It brings us together. But sometimes, we have to really define, when it's really like, when there is really a point where we're gathering, we're eating together, we're enjoying each other. But then there is also a time where, people force you to eat things. And that's where, we have to draw the lines as
Yeah,
well.
you're right. Thank you for your answer. And rolling back on that grandma thing, like it's just a generational wealth that we're, handing down to the next kids and the next, like the future of our world. So that is magnificent. In what ways do traditional diets contribute or hinder modern health goals?
Well, traditional diets have changed tremendously. I mean, when I was a little girl, traditional diet included, you have rice and beans and vegetables and, your glass of milk and all these things, a tiny little dessert. And now it's like, it's just like so much food and not necessarily a variety of foods. I think sometimes,
Right.
you get a chance to like, oh, well, I want double fries. I want triple of these. You can actually decide if you want more of that. I want more of that sauce. I want, so you can actually ask and sometimes that might not be really to our advantage.
Yeah.
I also feel that what's around us now is not only the amounts of food, but also that we're lacking some of the things that are more beneficial to our bodies, like vegetables, especially. I mean, we Latinos, then fruits. I don't think is a big deal. Lacking in our diets, maybe as much today, unless you go on these people are going to this, diets that are not very helpful or healthy. But for most of Latinos, we really don't eat enough vegetables, unfortunately. So sometimes some of these gatherings and the things that are around us are more things that, of course, what we want to eat and the things that we like because we want to please people. So we're going to make the things that we know everybody's going to be eating,
Yeah.
asking us to make because they know how good it is. But at the same time, we need to start learning how to make these things that we're lacking, like vegetables, in a way also that is very appetizing and appealing to our not only our families and friends, but anybody who comes around.
Yeah, it takes part in that cultural aspect for el amor entra por la cocina. Love comes in through the kitchen and the happiness of having a full belly. I totally agree with you. That is
Absolutely. And we're
wonderful.
pleasers. I mean, we
Yes.
tend to, and research has shown that Latina moms tend to, buy food thinking about who they want to please. They buy foods that their family asks her to buy and not necessarily thinking about nutrition first,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
it's like an inherited love language for us as
Completely.
Latinos.
Exactly. Lo que quieran, lo que quieran.
Lo que tú quieras, mi amorcito, porque yo te voy a dar la comidita.
Exacto. Lo que tú quieras, amor. Mamita te lo compra.
Sí. Oh, Lord. How can individuals balance their cultural food practices with their dietary recommendations for optimal health?
Yes, I think, what I like to do always is to kind of tell people, that we have 5 food groups.
Yes.
And then we have to incorporate a little bit of each one of them as much as possible with every meal. And that a balanced meal is about having at least 3 of those food groups um, in the plate so that we have at least 3 minimum. So we can have more incorporate into the plate. So let's say, you have a cereal with, make it with milk and then add fruit on top. And then you have 3. And if you add, some nuts or something to it, then you have 4. So again, it's adding as many food group varieties as we can because variety is really the key to having the nutrients that you need every day.
Yeah.
So when you fill up with only one food group, that's not a balanced meal. We have to have a variety of other foods in order to have that balanced meal because food on a plate is like a game with different players. We have, let's say, a soccer game. You have your goalie. You have your food groups that are very powerful, like protein and and the veggies and the fruits. We have loaded with antioxidants. But you also need the other players to kind of like pitch in as well. Those
Yeah.
because as we know, nutrients work together like players. They work together. Iron needs vitamin C, calcium needs vitamin D. So this is why you need a variety of foods because by himself, those nutrients are not going to be as powerful and as efficient. And if we place them with other nutrients, and this is why those 5 food groups need to be combined on a plate, so that those nutrients from each of those foods can best be more efficient in your body.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And you just mentioned it how we have increased in portions, but not an increase in variety. So that plays into, that factor. You're totally correct. And then we know as Latinos and Hispanics, our family has a big influence of how we eat, what we eat, and when we eat. So in that aspect, what role would you say social and family influence play in shaping our eating habits within different cultures?
Yeah, that's a big deal because I mean, if you go to Spain and a lot of these Latino cultures, they eat late at night. They eat their dinner at 9. If you go to like Spain, it's 10 o'clock at night when they're starting to eat dinner. Even when I go to Puerto Rico, I go visit with my mom, and it's like, I mean, most people are, they're like, come to dinner 8 or 9. I'm like, wow, I'm in bed. I'm getting ready for bed, at that time. But so I think that the whole social ambience, does play a role, the things that we are used to eating, but that doesn't mean that we have to do it like that. I tend to eat a little, something earlier. And then when I'm with my friends at 9 p.m., then perhaps I will have a, like, a little something to drink with them, like un tececito, or something with a cookie or something. You tend to eat a little bit something later, or just have like a, a salad or something not as heavy, or a bowl of fruit or something. So you have to kind of like, I always think that we have to be very and not like orgullosos de no, or like, how would I call it? Eh, Not having to be like thinking about yourself all the time.
Not selfish and being able to
Selfish,
immerse
that's
in
the
the
word. Yes,
culture.
it's not being selfish to think about what your body needs and your routines and stuff. You kind of compromise a little bit, but always think that you have to come first. That your needs, if you're a diabetic, if you have heart disease, if you have allergies, don't be afraid to share these things. That, I'm gonna bring something because, I can only eat, I eat only fruits at night or whatever. I mean, don't worry about being selfish, because this is your body, and you know more than anyone else know what your body needs and what your regimen needs to be like. So, and I think we tend, because we please people, we tend to break away from the things that we are best for our bodies. Let's say I'm a diabetic and they bring me this enormous piece of flan, I'm gonna go like, well, why don't we share it? Why don't we
Yeah.
share one piece? Because I need to really stick to my regimen, and really be mindful of my diabetes or whatever. So you have to kind of like be thinking about yourself all the time, and then find ways to be as pleasant and as loving as possible, so that you don't offend anybody.
Yeah.
Okay, because I remember my mom was a very tricky person, and she would be like, "Yo no como eso," because she was always in a low sodium diet, because she had heart disease and she had high blood pressure. So for a good reason, even though she was taking medication, she knew that she had to watch her sodium. And she will taste something. Eso está bien salado. Y yo, mami, sé un poquito más táctica, ¿no? Just a little more tactic, like, oh, you don't have to say that it's salado. You say, you know what, I'm gonna or just just put it to the side, don't eat it, and find something else. Find, fill in the fruit, or bring yourself,
Yeah.
some fruits, and bring things that that's what you can eat at that time. So, always thinking about yourself, but in a way that is loving and not judgmental to that what people did for you. Because I always felt like when she would tell people like, ay, eso no, eso está muy salado, porque eso está tan salado, why you make it so salty? And I go, Mom, you're gonna offend the person who made it with
Yeah.
loving for you. So we have to find ways very tactfully and lovingly to either leave it there and take some of the other things, or say, hey, I'm gonna take it with me and eat it later. Something,
Yeah.
think of something that you can do in order not to jeopardize the regimen that you need to be on it.
Yeah.
But then in the other side, if one day you go a little out of it, one day out of the month or whatever, it's not as frequent, then it's not going to be the end of the world. However, you have to think that we have celebrations every weekend, sometimes every day. So these things are going to happen frequently. We know
Yeah.
that. So we have to learn tactful ways to deal with our relatives and friends who might offer us something that we cannot consume too much of it.
Yeah, not only friends, because sometimes, like for example, you travel a lot, so every culture is different, and do people do take offense if you don't at least try their food, and you don't want to make
Absolutely.
that impression. You want to immerse yourself in the culture, but having very strict boundaries and being like open with communication to make sure that you're not jeopardizing your health, but you're also not offending the other party. Because
Absolutely.
when we cook, it takes forever. It's the planning, is the getting the groceries,
The money, right?
yeah,
Costs money.
the money, the cooking, and the dishwashing. Because that's the worst part of it. You make a feast, and then you look back, and you're like, oh my god, all the dishes I have to take
Right,
care of.
right. This amount of dishes that I have to clean. Absolutely. And and you bring a very good point. Like when I travel, there's people, they always want me to try their foods. I mean, this is, no, I was in India, I go to Romania frequently, go to Colombia soon, in all these places. I have to go to Vietnam, early next year. So all these trips that I have, and people always want you to have a taste of their food, which is so loving. It's so loving and so thoughtful. But at the same time, I mean, I don't eat meat,
Yeah.
and I, of course, I don't want to eat too late at night. But I always find ways. They always find ways. I mean, sometimes I tell them ahead of time, I'm vegetarian, just to let you know. Or when I go to Romania, I've been going there since 2012. I always say, they have these sauces that are absolutely delicious, akuska, and that they make, and all these sarmales. And so I tell them, I say, make them with mushrooms for me. I love when you make them with mushrooms. Or I say, that eggplant sauce, the white one, I don't like the white one. I don't know why, but I love the red one. So I kind of tell them, and they tell me that, okay, I make you extra of the red one because I know you don't like the white one.
Yeah, that's wonderful that people use, like we just mentioned, that communication opens and, strengthens our bonds instead of, causing any friction between the people that are serving us out of their hearts.
Exactly. So, I want to be as open as possible. And when you're open like that, they really value that, and they treasure that, because they know that there's, that you remember some of the things that they made you that are so, so good, and that you love. And they sent me home with more to bring home and everything. But they also know, like, yeah, I tried the white one. That's not my favorite, but I know you guys love it. So I'm going to, give me more of the red. I'll give you the white.
And then following up on this cultural diversity thing, for our last question, can you tell us a few tips on how we can embrace cultural diversity in our diets to improve nutrition outcomes? And if so, how can we practice that at our home?
Yes, I think we can learn so much from other cultures, because, you think about like the Asians, how yummy they make their vegetables. You think about Indians and the sauces they make with all these spices that could also be very beneficial for your body. Think about the Puerto Ricans and the Latinos who eat lots of beans, and how they make them with pumpkin and potatoes and all these great seasonings as well, how they actually add other veggies into these stews, so that they're not only more delicious also from the vegetables, but also at the same time, boosting the nutritional value of that dish. So I think that a lot of cultures really teaches us a lot of things, and I love grabbing from all these different cultures and learning how to make food not only more palatable, and while keeping the nutritional value, but also I think it's so interesting that you like, I learned how to make that when I was in Vietnam. I know how to make that when I was here. And let me, like, for example, I give you an example. When I was in Romania, they gave me a lentil soup. They eat a lot of soup, and I love that. They love, and they are masters of soups. And I have learned to love, we're not really like soup people. We live in the Caribbean or places, so we're not really used to eating a lot, drinking a lot of, or eating a lot of soups. But they make really delicious soup. So they made me a lentil soup that was absolutely out of this world. But I could swear it had ham.
Probably.
And I go, are you sure this is already meat? And they go, Sylvia, and they said, but I'm going to tell you my secret. This is the secret. And it was smoked paprika. So when they make the lentil soup, when they make the pea soup, how pea soup always needs to have a little bit of ham in it to have that nice flavor. So they add the paprika, the smoked paprika, and that really adds a beautiful smoky flavor. So I use smoked paprika for everything now. I was like, oh my God. And they sell them in mounds in Romania. You go to the markets and they send you the smoked paprika because they use it in a lot of their dishes. So I grabbed that from them, and I thought that was a great thing to add more flavor to a dish, to add that meaty flavor to a dish that is plant-based. And so again, and I could go on and on with many stories of other countries where you can really embrace what they do best. Yes. And then, when I think even of the American diet, I still think that, there's a lot of things that we could do. Great salads. I mean, Americans are known for the wonderful salads. So I think that, you can grab things from many countries and really take the best from them. And then, if they are, like you go to Hungary, they have great desserts. We share them, they're little teeny things that they make. They don't make them big. They make them very small. And then everybody even shares them. And it's just a beautiful thing to share, and not to have, and it could be from a 400 calorie dessert, I can make it 40 calories and enjoy that. And it's still, comparto con otra gente. So I'm sharing with others and enjoying the moment as well.
Yes. Well, thank you very much for your time. We have a few last things. What is your favorite food? Share with us.
My favorite.
Right at the top of your head, quick.
Fried
What?
plantains, fried plantains.
Okay.
Every time I see them, I was like, ah, I gravitate towards them. I love fried plantains, the chips too. So, but I have an air fryer now where I make them, and they are absolutely delicious to make fried plantains in the air fryer. So you don't even have to use any oil with them, and you can have more than.
Well, thank you very much for your time. And I would like our listeners to be able to contact you. So, what is your contact information and social media so they can follow you and reach out?
Absolutely. You can always go to my website at hispanicnutrition.com. You can always find all my social media handles in there, hispanicnutrition.com. Or you can always love emailing too. You can email me at Sylvia at hispanicnutrition.com. My social media handles are S Klinger RD for Registered Dietitian, S Klinger RD. And that's for Instagram and also for Pinterest and for LinkedIn and Facebook. You can find me under Sylvia Klinger or Sylvia Melendez Klinger as well. But just Google my name and you'll find my website. And I love to talk to people. So please connect with me at any time.
Great. And I want to leave our listeners with a short advice from you, one or two words they can take home and ponder about it.
I say, this body is yours. Keep it safe, nourish it, and really treat your body with lots of love, because this is your body. This is like your little Porsche, your little Corvette. Shine it and nourish it as best as you can, and know that there is no perfection. We're humans, and there will be a little, a cookie, a soda, and things, here and there. But just as long as you eat, you nourish your body with healthier foods that are more nutrient dense, I think you're going to be doing really good.
Well, thank you very much, Sylvia, for your time. This is the end of our episode. Stay tuned for the next one. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for having me. My pleasure.
Thank you for your time. Eat Right, Feel Right, and Small Bite is not responsible for any comments emitted in this program. While we do consult professionals, we highly encourage you to do your own research and search for professional advice when it comes to your health. Thank you very much and see you on the next episode. For a nutritional consult or nutrition education, make your appointment today at eatrightfeelbright.com. And remember to explore our merch in the Shop tab. Bye bye.